A very, very timely conversation happening here tonight, folks. Thanks so much for staying tuned, because the Prof is in the house. Professor PLO Lumumba, when he shows up, you know we're waxing lyrical all evening long. Prof, earlier on in our first part, we're talking about Monday's march. Monday's protest and the march to State House. I mean, and a lot of people are taking this very lightly.
Very lightly.
This could turn south very easily.
You know, so very lightly, and words are being bandied around, like mass action. And let me use this occasion to share with my audience that mass action is an instrument that was used effectively by Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement. And Luther King said that any responsible leadership that wants to engage in mass action must satisfy 4 tests. Number 1, they must demonstrate that they have a grievance and they do not want to use mass action to cause confusion and for the purpose of revenge. Number 2, that they must demonstrate that they have exhausted all methods of engaging government, including negotiations and petitions. Number 3, that having found all those methods and doors to be closed, that they intend to ensure that they do not cause injustice to others. And number 4, they must demonstrate that they have a clear program of salvaging the society without causing injustice to others. Let us put the so-called mass action against the Kingian test, and it fails on all 4. And what we are being told is going to be an insurrection, because it has been declared at different rallies that the intention is to remove the government of President William Ruto as established. It has been said that that government is illegitimate and that what is going to happen on Monday the 20th is a date with destiny. In other words, that 1 million supporters of Azimio will move into State House and remove President William Ruto and install Raila Amolo Odinga as the President of the Republic of Kenya. If that is not a recipe for chaos and bloodbath, tell me what the recipe is.
Yeah.
And I see people taking it very lightly.
Yeah.
It is not light. Lives will be lost. Ruto has his supporters. Raila has his supporters. And it will take a simple mistake and a simple misstep, and this country can burn. And those who are now tweeting and saying all manner of things will burn in it. Their children will burn in it. And it will take generations to bring this country together again, if we are to bring it again. Responsible leadership now has a duty, a patriotic duty, to step back and say, what is bigger, the country or my interest? The country or my desire to be president? The country of the institution? This is what we are asking. We are simply saying, you may not have liked the Supreme Court decision, but we accepted that we must have a system of determination of grievances which has finality to it. If we allow everybody, like Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga said, standing on a podium and saying, I declare the 20th of March to be a public holiday. Suppose all of us were to do that. Would that not be anarchy? Do we want anarchy? This country that has such potential, whether you support Raila Amolo Odinga or not, or support William Ruto, is that what you want? And what we are asking Kenya, reflect. Don't be consumed by passion. Don't be consumed by anger. Reflect and ask, after the 20th, what? After the 20th, what?
Yeah. You know what, Prof, 16 years ago we did this. Kenya was on the edge of the abyss. And we looked over the edge and we didn't like what we saw. Look at this, 16 years later, we haven't learned anything?
The same thing? History has not taught us. Do we think we are immune from chaos? Do we think we have a pact with God that we can behave whichever way we want? Do we think that political bad manners is going to lead us where we want? The international community was here, and they saved us from the precipice. Why is it that the wax in our ears refuses to melt? Why is it that the scale in our eyes refuses to fall off? We are appealing to the leaders. God has given them an opportunity to provide leadership. Leadership is about self-denial. This time round, if we make a mistake, and have seen what happened in Kisumu today, those who think they have control should ask a person called Frankenstein. Sometimes you create a monster over which you have no control. Reflect and ask, do we want to destroy this country? Do we want it recorded that we are the ones who destroyed this country? We are simply asking, not for a handshake, we are simply asking responsible leadership. One of my greatest disappointments in this country, when there is a crisis, and I hear Raila Amolo Odinga saying cost of living is high, I agree with him totally. I hear him saying that certain appointments could have been made better. I agree with him completely. But will marching on State House on the 20th solve those things? If he became the president on the 20th, would the prices of commodities suddenly go down? Would the appointments suddenly change? Would Kenya become El Dorado, the land of gold? Will he have a magic wand that he'll wave, and lo and behold, Kenya's GDP increases? No. Has Parliament, and Azimio has parliamentarians, not a single parliamentarian has come and said, we want an emergency discussion on the state of this economy. We have 47 governors. Not one of them, they are meeting in Migori today as I speak. Not one of them has said there is a crisis in our country. Not a single women's representative. Not a single MCA. Why did we elect them? Why have we chosen the forum of political rallies? If you listen to some of the things that are being said in those political rallies, how people are being insulted, even sanitization of our language has disappeared. What kind of a country do we want to build? What role models are we? We are saying, please, let us come together as a people and say mistakes may have been made, but together we can resolve them. This is what patriotism is all about. Patriotism is not about singing the national anthem or reciting mottos and all. It's about sacrificing for the country, sacrificing personal interest for this generation and generations yet to be born.
Absolutely. Prof, if you're just joining us now, Professor PLO wrote to the president and the former prime minister, wrote a 5-page letter, if we can have it up again. And in that letter, he talked about a lot of issues plaguing and affecting Kenya right now. Let me ask you real quick as we get the letter up. It's been 7 months since we went to the polls. 7 months. Why has it taken so long for this administration to settle into place?
You know, those who know say that for any administration to settle in place, it takes 18 months. Forget about the mythical 100 days. You deal with appointments. Under the new Kenyan constitution, when you want to appoint anybody, you have to have an appointment panel. Once you've done that, you go to parliament. It is a long process. Kenya's appointment of public officials is one of the longest and the most expensive in the world. You are operating in an environment where the micro and macroeconomic fundamentals are unfavorable. And one does not have to be an economist to know that it is going to take this economy at least 3 years before we can begin to see the dividends. And that is holding all factors constant, assuming that we are behaving. As I speak to you now, 46% of our revenue is consumed by salaries. What is left?